The impossible reading. Commodore Vexthera's 4 eyes narrowed as she studied the holographic display floating above her command throne. The Krillian officer had served the Dominion Empire for 3 decades, and in all that time she had never seen sensor readings quite like these. Scan again, she commanded, her mandibles clicking with irritation. There must be interference from the nebula. Her tactical officer, a young Krillian named Zelmoth, manipulated the controls with his secondary appendages. Commodore, I've run the scan 17 times. The readings are consistent. Vexthera rose from her throne, her ceremonial armor plates gleaming under the bridge lights of the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereign's Fury. The vessel was one of 12 such ships patrolling the outer reaches, a region of space where the Dominion's iron grip was absolute. For 200 years the Empire had ruled this sector without challenge. Show me the visual, she ordered. The hologram shifted, displaying a ship that made Vexthera's blood run cold. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of her dreadnought, but that wasn't what disturbed her. The vessel's design was utterly alien to any civilization in the known galaxy. Its hull was a patchwork of mismatched metals, some sections gleaming with fresh plating while others showed the scars of 1,000 battles. Enormous cannons protruded from its flanks like the spines of some deep space predator. Energy signature? Vexthera asked. That's the problem, Commodore, Zelmoth replied, his voice trembling slightly. The power output it's reading at 37% above maximum theoretical limits for a vessel that size. Impossible. Yes, Commodore. Impossible. Yet there it is. Vexthera's third eye, the one that could see into the ultraviolet spectrum, focused on a detail the others had missed. Along the ship's hull, barely visible beneath layers of carbon scoring and battle damage, were symbols. Human symbols. The Dominion had encountered humanity 12 years ago. The meeting had been brief and decisive. A human exploration vessel had stumbled into Imperial space, and Vexthera's predecessor had destroyed it without hesitation. The Empire had then dispatched envoys to Earth with a simple message: submit or be annihilated. The humans had submitted. Or so the Dominion believed. Communications, have they responded to our hails? Vexthera asked. Negative, Commodore. The vessel maintains complete radio silence. Weapon status? All defensive shields are active, but no weapons are charging. They're just sitting there. Vexthera studied the strange vessel. According to Dominion intelligence, humanity possessed barely functional spacecraft held together with primitive chemical rockets and crude fusion drives. Their weapons were laughable, kinetic projectiles and low-yield explosives. The idea that they could construct something like this was beyond absurd. Perhaps it's a derelict, suggested Zelmoth. A human vessel that drifted through a spatial anomaly? The readings could be corrupted data. Does that look derelict to you? Vexthera gestured at the display, where the ship's running lights pulsed with a steady, almost organic rhythm. That vessel is very much alive. She turned to her weapons officer, a massive Thrawn warrior named Cragdull. The Throns were conquered subjects of the Empire, valued for their strength and loyalty. Cragdull charged the main plasma batteries, targeting solutions on that ship. Commodore, Zelmoth interjected. Perhaps we should wait for reinforcements? If the readings are accurate. If the readings are accurate, then the humans have violated the Treaty of Submission, Vexthera interrupted. They are forbidden from operating military vessels beyond their home system. This is an act of war. The bridge fell silent. Everyone present understood the implications. The Dominion Empire controlled 400 star systems and commanded fleets that could crack planets. But the strange vessel before them radiated a menace that made even hardened warriors nervous. Sir, I'm detecting a new contact, the sensor officer announced. No, make that 3 contacts. They just appeared behind us. Vexthera spun toward the tactical display. 3 more vessels, identical to the first, had materialized from the depths of space. Their stealth capabilities were clearly far beyond anything the Dominion possessed. How did they? Vexthera began, but her question was answered by a sudden transmission. The main view screen activated, and for the first time Vexthera saw a human face. The being was female, with skin the color of deep earth and eyes that held an unsettling intelligence. She wore a uniform of dark blue with silver insignia that Vexthera didn't recognize. Dominion Vessel Sovereign's Fury, the human said, her voice calm and measured. This is Admiral Keiko Tanaka of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are trespassing in human-protected space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted back to Imperial territory. Vexthera's mandibles clicked in amusement. Human, you are in violation of. The Treaty of Submission? Tanaka interrupted, a slight smile playing at her lips. That treaty was signed by the Earth government representing our home system. I represent something else entirely. Explain yourself, Vexthera demanded. While your empire was congratulating itself on humanity's submission, we were busy. Colonies, Commodore. 17 of them, scattered across systems your scouts never bothered to survey. Independent, sovereign, and very, very angry about what happened to Earth. Vexthera felt ice forming in her primary heart. The Dominion will crush you. You are one species against an empire of hundreds. Tanaka's smile widened. That's what the Vectar hegemony said. We finished with them last month. Their territory is now under human protection. As are the Forian clusters and the Melsari Commonwealth. Turns out, a lot of civilizations were tired of Dominion rule. They just needed someone to stand up first. The tactical display updated, showing new contacts appearing throughout the sector. Dozens of human warships, each as massive and intimidating as the first, materialized from stealth. Among them were vessels of other species, former Dominion subjects now flying under new banners. This is your only warning, Commodore, Tanaka said. Turn your fleet around, return to Imperial space, and tell your superiors that the outer reaches are no longer theirs. Humanity is here now. And we remember everything the Dominion has done. Vexthera stared at the overwhelming display of force. Her tactical training warred with her pride. The smart choice was obvious. This isn't over, she said finally. No, Tanaka agreed. It's just beginning. The Council of Steel. The Imperial throne room on Karo Prime stretched for nearly a kilometer, its vaulted ceiling supported by pillars carved from the bones of extinct species. Emperor Zalcris the Eternal sat upon his throne of crystallized starlight, his 12 eyes fixed upon Commodore Vexthera as she delivered her report. You retreated, the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the chamber. You, a Commodore of the Imperial fleet, retreated from humans. Your Majesty, I had no choice, Vexthera replied, keeping her primary eyes lowered in submission. The tactical situation was unacceptable. Zalcris rose from his throne, his massive form towering over his assembled court. At 4 meters tall, the Emperor was genetically enhanced to inspire awe and terror in equal measure. The humans submitted 12 years ago. They have no military capability. That is no longer accurate, Your Majesty. Vexthera activated a holographic projector, displaying the scan data from her encounter. These vessels represent technology that exceeds our own in several key areas. Stealth capabilities, power generation, and if Admiral Tanaka is to be believed, they've already conquered 3 major powers in the outer reaches. Grand Admiral Thexnor, commander of the Dominion's 3rd Fleet, stepped forward. The old Krillian warrior bore scars from 100 campaigns. Your Majesty, if I may. Perhaps the Commodore is correct to show caution. The Vectar hegemony was a formidable power. If the humans truly defeated them. If. Zalcris slammed his primary fist against the throne's armrest, cracking the ancient crystal. I tire of speculation. I want facts. Grand Admiral, you will take the 3rd Fleet and investigate these claims. If you encounter human vessels, you will destroy them and bring me this Admiral Tanaka in chains. Thexnor bowed deeply. It shall be done, Your Majesty. As the court dismissed, Vexthera found herself walking alongside the Grand Admiral through the palace gardens, a rare preserve of living plants from across the Empire. You think I'm a coward? Vexthera said. Thexnor plucked a bioluminescent flower from a nearby bush, studying its soft glow. I think you're alive, which shows considerable wisdom. Tell me, Commodore, what was your instinct when you saw those ships? Terror, Vexthera admitted. The kind I haven't felt since my first combat deployment. Those ships weren't just powerful, they were wrong somehow. As if they violated the natural order. Interesting choice of words. Thexnor crushed the flower, its light fading. I've read the initial reports on humanity. When the Dominion first encountered them, our xenobiologists were fascinated. Humans are persistence predators from a death world. They evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can survive injuries that would kill most species, adapt to almost any environment, and they possess something our scientists called irrational determination. What does that mean? It means that when cornered, humans don't calculate odds or make rational decisions. They fight. And they keep fighting even when victory is mathematically impossible. Thexnor turned to face Vexthera. The Emperor wants me to crush them. But I suspect we're about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating those who have nothing left to lose. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Defiance, Admiral Keiko Tanaka stood before her senior staff in the war room. The chamber was utilitarian compared to the grandeur of imperial vessels. Functional metal, holographic displays, and an atmosphere of focused intensity. "Reports are coming in from our scout network," said Captain Marcus Reed, Tanaka's second-in-command. The tall, scarred veteran had been with her since the early days of the colony rebellion. "The Dominion is mobilizing their third fleet. 200 vessels including 15 dreadnoughts. Grand Admiral Thex Nor is commanding personally." "Good," Tanaka replied, studying the star chart before her. "That's exactly what we wanted." Commander Yuki Zhao, the fleet's chief engineer, raised an eyebrow. "Admiral, with respect, we have 63 operational warships. They have 200. The math isn't favorable." Tanaka smiled. "Commander, when has humanity ever let math dictate our actions? Besides, our ships aren't like theirs." She gestured to the schematic of the Defiance. The vessel was a monster of engineering, born from the desperate innovation of 17 human colonies that refused to accept subjugation. Its hull was composite armor layered with adaptive shielding. Its engines could push it to speeds that would tear apart most ships. And its weapons? "The Dominion builds their ships to dominate," Tanaka continued. "To inspire fear and ensure compliance. They're designed to win through overwhelming force and technological superiority. Our ships were designed by survivors who had to make every shot count, every system redundant, every component reparable with whatever materials we could scavenge." "They're designed to win," Reed said quietly. "Exactly. And more than that, they're designed by people who remember Earth. Who remember our cities burning under Dominion bombardment when we dared to ask for better terms. Who remember our leaders executed when they tried to negotiate." Tanaka's voice hardened. "The Emperor thinks we submitted. He has no idea what we've been building out here." Dr. Amara Okafor, the fleet's xenobiologist, spoke up. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the psychological profiles of Dominion leadership. They operate on a principle of absolute superiority. Any challenge to that paradigm creates cognitive dissonance. Your confrontation with Commodore Vexthera, refusing to back down, that likely caused more damage than you realize." "Explain," Tanaka said. "The Dominion conquers species that recognize their own weakness. Species that calculate odds and make logical decisions about survival. They've never faced an opponent who simply refuses to accept the premise of their own inferiority." Okafor pulled up historical data. "Look at every civilization they've absorbed. Initial resistance, followed by negotiation, followed by conditional surrender. It's a pattern." "We broke the pattern," Reed observed. "We shattered it," Tanaka corrected. "And when Grand Admiral Thex Nor arrives with his fleet, we're going to shatter it again." "Commander Zhao, what's the status of Project Prometheus?" Zhao grinned. "The weapon platforms are operational, Admiral. 12 of them, positioned throughout the Helios cluster. The Dominion won't know what hit them." "Good. Because we're not just fighting for our freedom. We're fighting to prove something that every conquered species in this galaxy needs to see. The Dominion can be beaten." The Helios trap. Grand Admiral Thex Nor stood on the bridge of his flagship, Emperor's Will, watching the Helios cluster grow larger on the view screen. The star cluster was a maze of gravitational anomalies, asteroid fields, and unstable nebulae, exactly the kind of place where a guerrilla force might hide. "Sensors are picking up multiple contacts," reported his tactical officer, a young Krillian named Sevral. "Approximately 15 human vessels scattered throughout the cluster." "Only 15? Thexner mused. "Admiral Tanaka must be more desperate than I thought." "Fleet formation Delta 7. We'll sweep through the cluster in 3 waves, boxing them in." His first officer, a Thrawn named Kragath, rumbled a warning. "Grand Admiral, the sensor readings are inconsistent. Some of the signatures appear to be artificial. Decoys most likely. The humans are trying to make their force seem larger." Thex Nor settled into his command throne. "We've dealt with such tactics before. Proceed." The Dominion fleet advanced into the cluster, 200 warships moving in perfect formation. It was a display of military precision that had terrified countless civilizations. The Emperor's Will led the vanguard, its plasma batteries charged and ready. What Thex Nor didn't know was that Admiral Tanaka was watching from a hidden observation post deep within the cluster's largest asteroid. "They're committing their full force," Reed observed, studying the tactical display. "Just as we predicted. The Dominion has been winning through intimidation for so long, they've forgotten how to be cautious," Tanaka replied. "Commander Zhao, activate Prometheus protocol." "Aye, Admiral. Activating now." Throughout the Helios cluster, 12 massive structures that had been masquerading as asteroids came to life. Each was a weapons platform designed and built in secret over the past 5 years, humanity's answer to the Dominion's technological superiority. The platforms were marvels of desperate engineering. Their primary weapons were mass drivers capable of accelerating tungsten rods to a significant fraction of light speed. At those velocities, even a small projectile carried devastating kinetic energy. And each platform had thousands of such projectiles. Platforms 1 through 12, active and locked, Zhao reported. Firing solutions calculated. Awaiting your order, Admiral. Thex-Nor saw the weapons platforms activate on his sensors exactly 3 seconds before the first volley hit his fleet. Evasive maneuvers, he roared, but it was too late. The tungsten rods tore through Dominion shields like they were paper. The laws of physics made them nearly impossible to stop. No energy weapon could vaporize them fast enough, and point defense systems were designed for missiles, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The first wave destroyed 12 Dominion vessels outright, including 2 dreadnoughts. The second wave, arriving mere seconds later, crippled another 20. The cluster erupted in a storm of fire and debris. All ships, emergency jump. Thex-Nor commanded. Get us out of here. But the humans had planned for that too. Tanaka had positioned gravity well generators throughout the cluster, devices that disrupted faster-than-light travel. The Dominion fleet was trapped. Now, Tanaka said calmly, deploy the fleet. From their hiding spots within the asteroids, the human warships emerged. Not 15 vessels but all 63 including the Defiance. They'd used the decoys to draw the Dominion into the perfect kill zone. What followed was not so much a battle as a massacre. The human ships moved with precision, using the asteroids for cover while their weapons platforms continued their relentless barrage. Dominion vessels, designed for open space combat and overwhelming firepower, found themselves outmaneuvered in the close confines of the cluster. Thex-Nor watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. How are they doing this? He demanded. Our ships are superior in every way. Except the ways that matter in this environment, sir, Several replied grimly. Their vessels are smaller, faster, more maneuverable. And they're using weapons we have no defense against. A proximity alarm blared. The Defiance had broken through the Dominion defensive screen and was bearing down on the Emperor's will. All batteries fire on that ship. Thex-Nor commanded. The Emperor's will unleashed its full arsenal. Plasma torpedoes, particle beams, and conventional missiles. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The Defiance took the hits on its composite armor, shields flaring brilliant blue, but it didn't stop. It didn't even slow down. Impossible, Kragath whispered. Nothing can withstand that kind of firepower. Humans can, Thex-Nor said bitterly, understanding at last. They built these ships to take punishment we can't imagine. Because they've already endured punishment we can't imagine. The Defiance returned fire with its main guns, not the elegant energy weapons of the Dominion, but crude, devastating mass drivers that punched holes through the Emperor's will's shields and hull. Alarms screamed as systems failed. Sir, we have to abandon ship. Several shouted over the chaos. No, Thex-Nor replied. Open a channel to the Defiance. Moments later, Admiral Tanaka's face appeared on the view screen. She looked different than in her previous transmission. There was blood on her face from where a console had exploded, and her uniform was scorched. But her eyes held that same unsettling determination. Grand Admiral, Tanaka said. Are you ready to surrender? Tell me something, Admiral, Thex-Nor asked. When the Dominion attacked Earth, why didn't you fight like this? Tanaka's expression darkened. Because Earth was one planet with 6 billion people. The Emperor held a gun to their heads and told our leaders to submit or watch their world burn. Our government made the logical choice, the choice that saved lives in the short term. She leaned forward. But I was out here, Admiral. Me and thousands of others who refused to accept that choice. We've spent 12 years preparing for this. 12 years building, planning, and remembering every single person we lost. You can't defeat the entire Dominion, Thex-Nor said. We don't have to. We just have to prove you can bleed. Because once we do that, every species you've conquered is going to rise up. And unlike you, Grand Admiral, we're willing to help them. Tanaka gestured, and the Defiance ceased fire. You have 1 hour to evacuate your surviving ships. Then leave this sector and don't come back. Consider it mercy, which is more than the Dominion showed Earth. Thex-Nor looked at his tactical display. Of his 200 ships, fewer than 70 remained combat capable. He'd walked into a perfect trap, and the humans had executed it flawlessly. Very well, Admiral. But this isn't over. No, Tanaka agreed. The war is just beginning. But now the Emperor knows what he's facing. The Emperor's wrath. The Imperial Palace on Karol Prime had stood for 3,000 years, a monument to Dominion power. In all that time, its walls had never trembled with the force of Emperor Zalcris's rage. 137 ships, the Emperor roared, his voice causing the very air to vibrate. Grand Admiral Thex nor lost 137 ships to a force one-third his size. The throne room was packed with military officials, nobles and administrators, all standing in terrified silence. Before them knelt Thex Nor, his armor stripped of rank insignia, his eyes downcast. Your Majesty, Thex Nor began, the humans employed tactics we had never encountered. Weapons platforms hidden as asteroids, gravity well generators, and ships designed specifically for close-quarters combat. Excuses. Zalcris descended from his throne, his clawed feet clicking against the bone floor. You are supposed to be the finest military mind in the Dominion. Yet you were outmaneuvered by primitives who 12 years ago couldn't even achieve faster-than-light travel. Lord Chancellor Velkus, the Emperor's chief advisor, stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider negotiation. If the humans have truly allied with the Vectar, Forian, and Melsari territories. Negotiation. Zalcris spun toward his Chancellor. The Dominion does not negotiate with inferiors. We conquer. We dominate. We rule. He turned back to the assembled court. 12 years ago we made an error. We showed the humans mercy, allowed them to keep their lives in exchange for submission. That mercy has been repaid with treachery. What are your orders, Your Majesty? Asked Fleet Marshal Zexthor, commander of the Dominion's First Fleet. Zalcris smiled, an expression that made even his most loyal servants uncomfortable. We will remind the galaxy why the Dominion is eternal. Fleet Marshal, you will take the 1st, 2nd, and 4th fleets, 600 ships, and you will not stop until human space is ash. No prisoners. No negotiations. Complete annihilation. A shocked murmur rippled through the court. The scale of force being committed was unprecedented. 600 ships represented nearly half of the Dominion's total military might. Your Majesty, Velkus protested, such a deployment will leave our core territories vulnerable. The Esikatar Republic has been conducting raids along our Spinward border and the... Let them raid, Zalcris interrupted. When the humans are destroyed, when the outer reaches see the price of rebellion, those minor irritations will cease. Fear is the ultimate weapon, Chancellor. We have simply allowed that fear to fade. It is time to remind the galaxy what happens to those who defy the Dominion. Thex Nor raised his eyes. Your Majesty, I beg you to reconsider. Admiral Tanaka is not a conventional opponent. She anticipated every move we made, countered every strategy. If you send 600 ships through the same approach vectors. Silence. Zalcris struck Thex Nor with one of his lower appendages, sending the old soldier sprawling. Your failure has cost you the right to counsel. You will spend the remainder of your days in the obsidian cells, contemplating the price of incompetence. As guards dragged Thex Nor away, the Emperor turned to Fleet Marshal Zexthor. You have 1 month to prepare. Then you will depart for human space. I want total extermination. Burn their colonies. Destroy their fleets. And bring me Admiral Tanaka's head on a spike. It will be done, Your Majesty, Zexthor replied, bowing low. As the court dispersed, Commodore Vexthera found herself pulled aside by Lord Chancellor Velkus. The old administrator's eyes held a deep worry. Walk with me, Commodore, Velkus said quietly. They moved through the palace gardens, ensuring they were beyond the range of listening devices. Only then did Velkus speak again. You encountered the humans first, he said. You saw their ships, spoke with their admiral. Tell me truthfully, can we win this war? Vexthera considered lying, but she'd always respected the Chancellor's pragmatism. I don't know. But I can tell you this, the Dominion has never faced an enemy like humanity. We've conquered hundreds of species, but they all followed predictable patterns. They valued their lives, their planets, their civilizations. They could be threatened into submission. And humans are different? Humans are survivors, Chancellor. I've read the xenological reports from Earth. Their planet has tried to kill them since they crawled out of the oceans. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, plagues, and they survived it all. They're not like us. When faced with impossible odds, we calculate and surrender. They calculate and fight anyway. Velkus plucked another glowing flower, watching its light pulse. The Emperor believes overwhelming force is the answer to every problem. But I've studied history, Commodore. Empires that rely solely on fear eventually encounter someone who refuses to be afraid. When that happens, the Empire falls, Vexthera finished. Precisely. The question is, are the humans that someone? Before Vexthera could answer, an urgent transmission crackled through her communication implant. Commodore, this is Fleet Command. You're being reassigned to the First Fleet under Fleet Marshal Zexthor. Report for duty immediately. Vexthera's mandibles clicked in resignation. It seems I'll have a front row seat to find out, Chancellor. The Council of Free Worlds. 3 weeks after the Battle of Helios Cluster, Admiral Tanaka stood before an assembly that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The Council of Free Worlds, representatives from 17 different species, all former subjects of the Dominion, gathered in defiance of the empire that had oppressed them for centuries. The meeting took place aboard the Defiance, in a chamber hastily converted from a cargo bay. Humans worked alongside Vectar engineers, Forian navigators and Melsari tacticians, species that days ago had been enemies, now united by a common cause. The Dominion is mobilizing 600 ships, Tanaka announced, her words translated into 14 different languages by the AI system. Our intelligence indicates they'll be ready to move within 2 weeks. Fleet Marshal Zexthor is commanding personally. Ambassador Thralkor of the Vectar hegemony, a massive crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, dimmed with concern. 600 ships is 30% of their total fleet. The Emperor must be taking this threat seriously. Good, replied Commander Shalira of the Melsari Defense Force, her feathers ruffling with agitation. The avian officer had lost her entire family to a Dominion punitive expedition 20 years ago. Let him take us seriously. Let him fear us. Fear without respect leads to extermination, cautioned High Scholar Fenrix of the Forian Collective, his multiple tentacles gesturing in complex patterns. The Emperor's pride has been wounded. He won't stop until he's made an example of us. Captain Marcus Reed stepped forward, displaying a holographic star chart. We've identified Zexthor's most likely approach vectors. The Dominion favors overwhelming frontal assaults. They've won so many battles through sheer force that they've forgotten the value of subtlety. Then we must teach them, Tanaka said. But not here, not in the outer reaches where they expect to find us. We're going to take the fight to them. The council erupted in shocked murmurs. Even Reed looked surprised. Admiral, Ambassador Thralkor pulsed, you're suggesting we attack Dominion core territories? That's suicide. Is it? Tanaka manipulated the star chart, highlighting several systems. The Dominion controls 400 star systems, but most of their fleet is concentrated in the outer reaches and their capital sectors. Their interior systems, the ones they conquered generations ago, are lightly defended. They assume those populations are pacified. They assume wrong, Shalira said, understanding dawning. There are resistance movements on dozens of worlds, suppressed but not eliminated. If we strike at the heart of the Empire, we give those movements hope, Tanaka finished. And we force the Dominion to fight on multiple fronts. Zexthor will have to split his forces, and a divided enemy is a vulnerable enemy. High Scholar Fenrix's tentacles writhed in thought. A bold strategy, Admiral. But bold strategies require bold execution. Our combined fleet numbers only 120 ships. Even divided, the Dominion's forces will outnumber us significantly. Then we don't fight fair, Reed interjected. We hit supply lines, communication relays, isolated garrisons. We make them afraid to leave their fortified positions. And when they do leave those positions to chase you, we lead them into traps, Shalira said with evident satisfaction. Like Helios. Dr. Amara Okafor activated a separate display, showing psychological profiles of Dominion leadership. The Emperor's greatest weakness is his ego. He views this as a personal insult, which means he'll make emotional decisions rather than tactical ones. If we can keep him angry, keep him focused on revenge rather than strategy, we can exploit that. Ambassador Thralkor dimmed to a thoughtful amber. Admiral Tanaka, I must ask, what is your endgame? Even if we win every battle, even if we inspire rebellions across the Empire, the Dominion has resources we cannot match. Eventually, we make them realize that holding an empire together through fear is more expensive than allowing freedom, Tanaka interrupted. We make occupation so costly, so resource-intensive, that they have to choose, continue bleeding resources to hold conquered worlds, or negotiate a peace that allows those worlds autonomy. You're betting on the Dominion's pragmatism, Fenrix observed. But the Emperor is not known for pragmatic thinking. No, Tanaka agreed. But his advisors are. His military commanders are. His population is. The Emperor can demand total war, but if the people paying for that war decide it's not worth the cost, he'll have no choice but to listen. Shalira stood, her wings spreading wide in a gesture of commitment. The Melsari will follow you, Admiral. Our people have suffered under Dominion rule for too long. If there's a chance for freedom, we'll take it. One by one, the other ambassadors pledged their support. The Vectar, the Forians, the Deltari, the Korthani. Species that had never trusted each other, that had been conquered and divided by the Dominion for generations, now united behind a human who'd refused to accept submission. Then we have 2 weeks to prepare, Tanaka said. Commander Reed will coordinate fleet assignments. Dr. Okafor will work with our intelligence networks to identify the best targets. And she paused, I need to send a message to Earth. After the council dismissed, Tanaka stood alone in her ready room, composing the most difficult transmission of her life. Earth was still under Dominion occupation, technically protected, but in reality controlled. Any message she sent would be monitored, analyzed, and likely used against her. But she needed Earth to know. Needed her home world to understand that they hadn't been forgotten. This is Admiral Keiko Tanaka, she began recording, formerly of the Earth Defense Force, currently commanding the Terran Defense Fleet and allied forces of the Free Worlds Council. If you're receiving this, it means our networks are still intact. She took a breath. To the people of Earth, I know it's been 12 years since the Dominion came. 12 years of living under their rule, their restrictions, their protection. I know many of you believe we abandoned you, that the colonies saved themselves and left Earth behind. That's not true. We've been building, preparing, and fighting for the day when we can come home. The Battle of Helios Cluster was our first victory, but it won't be our last. The Dominion is mobilizing their fleets, planning to destroy us, but we're not going to wait for them to strike. We're taking the fight to the Empire. And when we do, when we show the galaxy that the Dominion can be beaten, we're coming for Earth. Hold on. Stay strong. And know that humanity never surrendered, we just needed time to sharpen our teeth. Tanaka ended the recording and encrypted it with codes only Earth-resistant cells would recognize. Whether it would reach its destination she couldn't know. But hope was a weapon too, and she wielded every weapon she had. The fall of Station Omega. Fleet Marshal Zex Thor stood aboard his flagship, Dominion's Pride, surveying the might of 600 warships stretched across the void. The 1st, 2nd, and 4th fleets represented the finest vessels in the Imperial Navy, dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, and destroyers that had conquered countless worlds. All ships report ready, Fleet Marshal, announced his tactical officer, a Krillian named Morthak. We can begin the assault on human territories on your command. Patience, Zex Thor replied, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Grand Admiral Thex Nor's mistake was underestimating the humans. We will not repeat that error. What's the status of our intelligence networks? Compromised, sir, admitted Commander Vexthera, who'd been assigned as Zex Thor's strategic advisor despite, or perhaps because of, her earlier encounter with Admiral Tanaka. 17 of our deep cover assets in the outer reaches have gone silent. We have to assume the humans have identified and eliminated them. So we're going in blind, Zex Thor mused. Unacceptable. Before we commit to a full-scale assault, we need current intelligence on human fleet positions and capabilities. Recommendations? Vexthera manipulated the star chart, highlighting a massive space station orbiting a barren planet in the outer reaches. Station Omega, sir. It's a Dominion listening post established 60 years ago to monitor traffic in this sector. The station has extensive sensor arrays and houses a garrison of 2,000 troops. If we secure it first, we'll have a forward base and the intelligence we need. And if the humans have already taken it? Then we retake it. The station's defenses include shield generators, plasma batteries, and a small fighter wing. Even if the humans control it, we can overwhelm it with minimal losses. Zex Thor considered. Very well. We'll detach the 7th Battle Group, 30 ships, to secure Station Omega. Once we have our intelligence, we proceed with the main assault. Captain Drelkor, you have command of the operation. Captain Drelkor, a young but ambitious Krillian officer, saluted sharply. It will be my honor, Fleet Marshal. What Zex Thor didn't know was that Station Omega had been under human control for 3 weeks. And Admiral Tanaka had been waiting for exactly this opportunity. As the 7th Battle Group approached Station Omega, Captain Drelkor felt confident. 30 Dominion warships against a single station. The outcome was inevitable. Station Omega, this is Captain Drelkor of the Imperial Navy, he transmitted. You are ordered to stand down and prepare for inspection. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction. The response came not from the station but from the void around it. 16 human warships, including the Defiance, decloaked simultaneously. Captain Drelkor, Admiral Tanaka's voice echoed through his bridge. Thank you for the delivery. Delivery? Drelkor's confusion lasted exactly 3 seconds, the time it took for the humans to fire. But this time the humans weren't using their mass drivers. Instead, they deployed a weapon the Dominion had never encountered: electromagnetic pulse missiles. Dozens of them, each designed to detonate in a cascading pattern that overloaded shielding and disabled electronic systems. The Dominion ships' shields flared and failed. Across the fleet, systems went dark. Without shields or weapons, the Imperial vessels were helpless. Board them, Tanaka ordered. I want prisoners, intelligence, and their ships intact. Human Marines, wearing powered armor designed for zero-gravity combat, swarmed the disabled Dominion vessels. The fighting was brutal but brief. Dominion troops trained for overwhelming force tactics found themselves outmatched by soldiers who'd spent years training for exactly this kind of close-quarters combat. Within 2 hours, all 30 Dominion ships were under human control. Captain Drelkor found himself in the Defiance's brig, staring at Admiral Tanaka through a force field. You can't win, Drelkor said defiantly. Fleet Marshal Zexthor commands 600 ships. Your trick with the electromagnetic pulses won't work twice. You're right, Tanaka agreed. That's why we're not planning to use it twice. Captain, I'm going to offer you a choice. You can remain a prisoner, or you can help me end this war with minimal casualties. Betray the Dominion? Never. I'm not asking you to betray anyone. I'm asking you to save lives, human and Krillian alike. Tanaka pulled up footage from the Battle of Helios Cluster. This war is going to get very ugly very fast. The Emperor wants total extermination. Is that what you signed up for? To genocide entire species. Drelkor's mandibles clicked uncertainly. The Dominion brings order to chaos. Without the Empire, the galaxy would be in constant warfare. Is that what you really believe? Or is that what you've been told to believe? Tanaka leaned forward. I've studied your service record, Captain. You're a good officer. You've never participated in civilian massacres or punitive expeditions. You're a soldier, not a butcher. So I'm asking, is this a war you want to fight? The question hung in the air. Finally, Drelkor spoke. What do you want from me? Information. Fleet Marshal Zexthor's deployment plans, command protocols, and fleet dispositions. In exchange, I'll return you and your crew to the Dominion under a flag of truce. And what will that information buy you? A chance to end this war without destroying 600 ships and killing millions of beings? A chance to show the Dominion that we want peace, not conquest. Tanaka's expression hardened. But make no mistake, if Zexthor insists on a fight, we'll give him one. And it will be far worse than Helios. Drelkor considered. He'd been raised to believe in the Dominion's superiority, its divine right to rule. But the humans had shattered that belief in a matter of hours. And more than that, Admiral Tanaka had shown mercy when she could have shown none. I'll tell you what I know, he said finally. Not because I'm betraying the Dominion, but because I believe what you said, this war will destroy both our peoples. And perhaps it's time someone tried a different path. The Emperor's choice. Emperor Zalcris stared at the holographic transmission in disbelief. Admiral Tanaka stood before him, or rather her image did, with Captain Drelkor and his crew visible behind her. Your Majesty, Tanaka began, her voice respectful but firm, I'm returning Captain Drelkor and his crew unharmed. They fought bravely and they deserve to go home. You think returning a few prisoners will spare you? Zalcris snarled. You've humiliated the Dominion twice now. There can be no mercy. I'm not asking for mercy, Your Majesty. I'm offering peace. Tanaka gestured to someone off-screen, and the display changed to show a star map. These red markers represent Dominion supply depots, communication relays, and garrison stations throughout your empire. Over the past 2 weeks, while Fleet Marshal Zexthor was preparing his assault, my forces and our allies struck at 63 of these targets. Zalcris felt his primary heart skip a beat. Impossible. You don't have the ships. We don't need massive fleets for these operations, Your Majesty. Small strike teams, local resistance movements, coordinated attacks. The Dominion is vast, but that vastness is now your weakness. You can't defend everywhere, and you can't project force to every world simultaneously. The display shifted again, showing footage of rebellions erupting across a dozen Dominion-controlled worlds. Populations that had been suppressed for generations, now rising up with weapons and support provided by the Free Worlds Council. "You're a student of history, Your Majesty," Tanaka continued. "You know what happens when empires try to hold territory that refuses to be held. The cost in resources, in lives, in time, it's unsustainable. You can send Fleet Marshal Zexthor to destroy us. You might even succeed. But the rebellions won't stop. The resistance won't end. And eventually the Dominion will collapse under its own weight. You dare threaten the Eternal Empire? I'm not threatening, Your Majesty. I'm offering an alternative." Tanaka's expression softened slightly. 12 years ago the Dominion attacked Earth. You killed millions of people, burned our cities, and forced us to submit. But submission and peace are not the same thing. True peace requires respect, negotiation, and the acknowledgement that others have a right to exist freely. The Dominion does not negotiate with inferiors. Then you doom your empire to endless war. Because we're not going to stop, Your Majesty. And neither will the Vectar, the Forians, the Melsari, or any of the other civilizations you've oppressed. We're offering you a chance to transition from an empire of conquest to a federation of autonomous worlds, to transform the Dominion from a force of subjugation into a force for cooperation. Zalcris laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the throne room. "You think pretty words will make me surrender centuries of conquest? The Dominion is built on strength, on the natural order of superior beings ruling inferior ones." "No, Your Majesty," Tanaka replied quietly. "The Dominion is built on fear. And fear only works until someone refuses to be afraid. We're that someone. And every day we survive, every battle we win, we inspire others to refuse as well." The Emperor leaned forward, his 12 eyes blazing with rage. "I will crush you. I will burn every human colony to ash. I will make your species a cautionary tale told for millennia." "Perhaps," Tanaka acknowledged. "But at what cost? Captain Drelkor and his crew, ask them what happened at Station Omega. Ask them if they believe the Dominion can win a war of attrition against an enemy that refuses to die." Zalcris glanced at Drelkor, who stood at attention, his mandibles tight. "Well, Captain, tell me how you were defeated." Drelkor hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, the humans employed weapons we had no defense against. But more than that, they showed restraint. They could have killed us all. Instead, they took prisoners and offered medical care to our wounded. They treated us with the honor of warriors, not the contempt of conquerors." "Weakness," Zalcris spat. "Or strength of a different kind," Drelkor countered, surprising even himself. "Your Majesty, I believe Admiral Tanaka when she says this war will destroy both our peoples. The question is, can we afford that destruction?" The throne room fell silent. Lord Chancellor Velkus stepped forward cautiously. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider the Admiral's proposal. The economic cost of suppressing rebellions across our empire, combined with a protracted war against the humans and their allies." "Enough." Zalcris rose from his throne. "I will not hear more cowardice. Admiral Tanaka, you will have your answer. Fleet Marshal Zexthor will proceed with his assault. And when he brings me your head, I will display it in this throne room as a reminder to all species. The Dominion does not negotiate. The Dominion conquers." Tanaka bowed slightly. "Then we'll see you on the battlefield, Your Majesty. But know this, whatever happens, Earth will never submit again. And neither will we." The transmission ended. 1 week later, Fleet Marshal Zexthor's armada entered human space. But they found no massed fleet waiting for them, no grand battle. Instead, they found empty colonies, evacuated stations, and a message broadcasting on all frequencies. "To the soldiers of the Dominion fleet, we do not want this war. We do not want to kill you. But we will defend our freedom with every weapon we possess, every tactic we know, and every drop of blood in our veins. Turn back now and live. Continue forward, and learn what humanity is truly capable of when we have nothing left to lose." Commodore Vexthera, standing beside Fleet Marshal Zexthor on the bridge of Dominion's Pride, felt ice form in her heart. She'd seen what humans were capable of at Helios. And if that was them holding back. "Fleet Marshal," she said quietly, "I recommend we reconsider our approach. The humans are clearly planning something." "Let them plan," Zexthor replied, though Vexthera noticed the tension in his mandibles. "We have 600 ships. Whatever they're planning, we can overcome it through sheer force." But as the Dominion fleet advanced deeper into human space, strange things began to happen. Ships reported system malfunctions that disappeared before they could be diagnosed. Navigational errors that shouldn't be possible. And always, just at the edge of sensor range, the faint signatures of human vessels, watching, waiting. It was Captain Marcus Reed, commanding a small task force, who explained the strategy to his crew. We're not going to fight them head-on. We're going to bleed them. Every hour they spend in our space, every resource they burn searching for us, every nervous moment their crews endure, that's a victory. Because fear and exhaustion are weapons too. And humans? We're experts at using them. The war had begun. Not with a grand battle, but with a slow, grinding campaign of attrition. The Dominion had the numbers, but humanity had the will. And in the dark between the stars, that will burn brighter than any sun. 6 months later, Emperor Zalcris stared at the casualty reports with something approaching despair. 6 months of warfare had cost the Dominion 173 ships, thousands of soldiers, and rebellions had erupted on 47 worlds. The humans had lost fewer ships but continued fighting with the same relentless intensity. Your Majesty, Lord Chancellor Velkus said softly, Admiral Tanaka has sent another peace proposal. Burn it, Zalcris replied automatically. But his voice lacked its usual conviction. Your Majesty, the Council of Nobles has petitioned for negotiations. The war is bankrupting the Empire. Our subject species are in open revolt. Our military is stretched beyond breaking point. Velkus placed a data tablet before the Emperor. The Dominion can continue this war, but the cost may be the Empire itself. Zalcris read the proposal. Autonomy for occupied worlds. Mutual non-aggression pacts. The transformation of the Dominion from Empire to Federation. Everything he'd built his rule upon, negotiated away. But the alternative was watching his empire tear itself apart. Arrange a meeting, he said finally, the words bitter on his tongue. With Admiral Tanaka. But tell her this, I agree to negotiate not because the Dominion has been defeated, but because even emperors can be pragmatic. Velkus bowed deeply. Of course, Your Majesty. I will convey your message with appropriate nuance. As the Chancellor left, Zalcris returned to his throne, feeling older than his 300 years. The humans hadn't destroyed the Dominion. They'd done something far more insidious. They'd shown that it could be resisted. And once that lesson was learned, there was no unlearning it. In the end, empires built on fear all face the same truth. Eventually, someone stops being afraid. And when they do, everything changes. Admiral Keiko Tanaka stood in the observation deck of the Defiance, looking out at the stars. Beside her, Captain Marcus Reed smiled. Did you ever think we'd get this far? He asked. No, Tanaka admitted. I thought we'd die in the first battle, to be honest. But we proved something important. What's that? That humanity doesn't need to be the strongest, the most advanced, or the most numerous. We just need to be the ones who refuse to give up. Everything else is negotiable. Behind them, the comm system chimed. Admiral, we're receiving transmission from Carwello Prime. The Emperor has agreed to preliminary peace talks. Tanaka took a deep breath. Then let's go make history, people. Again. As the Defiance turned toward the coordinates for the peace summit, Tanaka allowed herself a small smile. The war wasn't over. Peace would be just as hard to win as any battle. But for the first time in 12 years, Earth and the colonies had a future that didn't involve submission. And that, she thought, was worth fighting for.